So I finally stopped being lazy. And I had to go back to the original teachings when you first started coming into here for our teachings. And it's like I was able to...
Isn't all that lazy is not connection with the vitality that is really you?
Yeah.
Isn't it just resistance? In other words, no one says, I think I'll set out to be lazy. It's just that you don't feel like doing something else because you're not in alignment with...
Yeah, but it's like the way that I was brought up was that I was waiting on others to do it, but with your teaching, you kept saying, no, you have to do it, you have to do it, you have to do it.
You want to do it, you want to do it, you want to do it.
So now I'm wanting, and I have these strong desires, and when I get to step 3, my part, and then when I get to step 4, that's the ecstasy part for me.
Yeah.
It's like when I come to that part.
I got this,
I got this, but then I've trained myself to like the low bottom living too, and that feels just as good as the ecstasy of being on the high flying disc.
There is a momentum to it, and we will go along with that so far as to say, we know that you understand the value of contrast, and that there are things that are interesting, and if you don't have a really good question, you're not going to come to a really good answer. So maybe you're appreciating and enjoying the contrast that is all part of the process.
I am, but I like to know the difference when I step from the high flying disc to the not.
There's 2 ways to know that has happened. One is by the way you feel. And the more you hang around here, then the more you're aware when you dip from it. The other way is you can wait until the thoughts have turned to things. Sometimes, even with Esther, something happens before she is associating the thoughts that have caused it to be. And there's nothing wrong with post-awareness. In other words, sometimes it can be a more joyful journey if you're aware in the early stages. This is where we always talk about momentum, because law of attraction and momentum are the same word. Because when you focus on something and you hold it in your vibrational consciousness, when you broadcast in a consistent way about something, talking, thinking, then what you're broadcasting also becomes your point of attraction. So what you're broadcasting is the way you practice what your receiving mode is. So sometimes you're broadcasting based upon what you're observing. You're not doing it deliberately. So you're broadcasting because you want to be objective, or you want to be aware, or you want to be informed. And so you're broadcasting, observing, and then you accomplish a vibration that you're not even aware that you've accomplished because it felt sort of normal while you were broadcasting it. But then as the momentum picks up and you get more and more and more of what you were broadcasting, then sometimes when you get into that manifested realm or experience, that's when you acknowledge, oh, I maybe could have done a better job of broadcasting because where I am, but it doesn't matter because nothing's ever finished. You never get it done. You never get it wrong either. And the reason it's never wrong is because it's never done. So at any point of manifestation along the way, all you're having is another step 1 moment where you are asking with more specifics about what you would prefer, and then off you go again. It's just a never-ending molding process.
Okay, so I have that part, but the part that's frightening to me is, the part that's very new to me that I'm getting used to is that it feels as if my inner being and I are becoming one I'm expanding, like the first gentleman was saying, but I want to make sure that I'm expanding in the unconditional love of you because I've been sidetracked by similar feelings. That feels.
Well, here's the thing. Don't make this too complicated, and don't try to feel all the way down the road. Just feel as you go. And so when you say, I know that I'm in alignment, and we say, if you weren't in alignment, you couldn't even have the awareness of receiving your inner being. In other words, just trust that when you feel good, it is good. When you have that feeling of elation or clarity, let it play out to give you the reassurance. We said this earlier, and we want to say it and say it and say it and say it until you begin to receive it and know it and own it. That the easiest and the most effective and the most lovely way for you to understand your worthiness is by tending to your thoughts and then making the conscious association between that thought and how it felt and what happened next. And further, we would like you to feel as blessed in the absence of what you want as you are in the presence of what you want, because you couldn't even feel negative emotion if your inner being wasn't so focused upon you in a powerful, positive way. Did you hear that? Even your ability to feel negative emotion means that there's love shining toward you that you're not letting in. And the worse you feel, the greater indication of the more love that's shining, that you've just got your shield up and not letting it in, you see.
Oh, okay, I got it. That makes sense to
So
me.
you're not ever going to get away from the awareness of your source, or the interest of your source, or the love of your source, or the assistance of your source. You're not ever going to get away from it, but you can, as you've been describing, you can put yourself in less or more modes of awareness of the existence of that. But at this point, you've heard enough and you've lived enough that you've got to be acknowledging that you are an extension of that. Just the fact that you have awareness of your own emotions has to help you to know that there is a tuning to something that you can deliberately or indeliberately accomplish.
Yeah, that's the secret garden, the emotions, the emotions, and then fine-tuning, not taking on the pain of it, the resistance of it, but just acknowledging that, following the feeling behind it, and so I can know what the old reaction, so I can ask for a new reaction.
It's like Esther just loves those bumps on the side of the road, right there at the edge of her lane. Those bumps that she feels right before she drives into the bar pit. She hasn't done that yet, but she likes those bumps because they are indicators to her. One of her new cars has a lane sensor, and so the bumps don't even have to be there. Her seat just vibrates a little if she gets too close to that. She sort of gets there often because it's sort of nice to have a friendly nudge every now and again. But not one time has she ever felt the awareness that she was closer to the edge of the road than she really meant to be, and felt guilt. Oh, I should be so ashamed of myself. There's guidance that's letting me know that I'm doing something that I really didn't mean to do. Your guidance is your blessing. Your guidance is your friend, you see. Whether it's a negative emotion or a positive emotion, it's an indicator of what you are broadcasting from and what law of attraction is going to emphasize and magnify and reveal and produce for you. In other words, you can tell by the way you feel what is coming. But we don't want you to change your emotion because of what's coming down the road. We want you to tune your emotion because how it feels right now. Oh, I'm not going to feel miserable because a bad thing may come.
Yeah.
Bad things here, it's misery.
Yeah. That's true. Wow. Okay. So sitting here allows me to commit to myself even further because, just like you said, there's no going back. So, and I appreciate that.
There's no regression in this magnificent universe of expansion. Yeah. You cannot be ever less than you have become. But the thing that trips you up a little bit, that we're wanting to help you to realize, is that you have become vibrationally more than you know. Yeah. And you are, from your broader perspective, being held to those standards.
Yeah.
You are a lover, whether you want to be or not. That's who you are. And when you find reason to hate, you feel terrible, not because you're doing something wrong, because you're depriving yourself of who you are. You see, when you feel poor or vulnerable or afraid, you feel terrible, not because you're doing something wrong, but because in that thought you are depriving yourself of the stability and the abundance and the security and the well-being that is flowing to you. And if it were not flowing to you, you could not feel yourself depriving yourself of it. And so every negative emotion, no matter how subtle or strong, the stronger the better as far as we're concerned, is an indicator of the power of who you are and the power of your asking. And even more than the power of your asking, the power of the answering, the power of the helping, the power of the clarity, the power of the offering, the power of the blessings, the power of the assistance, the power of the unified forces, the power of the energy that creates worlds, the power of all of that flowing to you because you've asked for it and you deserve it, and here it is. So next time you feel bad, say, oh man, I must be so good. I must be really important, and I must be really loved to feel this bad.
Yes, yeah.
There must be a whole lot of positive energy focused toward me that I'm not letting in, because I could not feel this bad if there were not on the other side of that all this good that is flowing to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. Wow, that's amazing, because it's like, if I feel the negative emotions now of the past, it's like, no, I've laid the new stones. It's like vibrational steps.
There's something really good for us to talk with you about here. Because as you stand now, you're in the most expansive, clear place that you've ever been. So here you are. So if you look into the past, you can't even find those feelings. You said to us something a few minutes ago, something like, you are aware of the evolution of your desire. And we want you to not feel the need to trace your way back through any of that. And when you try to trace your way back through it, you can't possibly do it, because you can't re-become who you were then. And that's what you meant when you said, sometimes I think I like the low part of it as well as the high part. That's what you were talking about. And we want you to know that, first of all, you can't go back. So you can't undo the becoming that you have accomplished. And when you try, all it does is introduce confusion into the conversation.
Wow.
Everything that you've lived has been of value and with good reason. Because you cannot receive an answer unless you have a question. And so much of that you want to, a lot of you do, you want to condemn past behavior or past thought or past lack of success or past something. You want to say, I should have done it different then. And we say, not only is that wasted life because you can't go back and do it, but that it was all right then, as it is all right now. You have to be willing to accept the rightness of where you stand in order to harmonize with your inner being, who always accepts the rightness of where you stand. But so much of the world, we want to talk to you about this, because this receiving mode, when you're tuned in, tapped in, turned on to who you really are, or this receiving mode when you are ornery or angry or vulnerable or defensive or depressed, and all of those potential receptive modes that are in between. So feel what it feels like to be in this aligned state and an idea come to you, and feel the elation that you feel and the good timing and the nice unfolding and the happiness that you have as an individual or as a group when you feel like that. And then, in contrast, feel some of this vulnerable feeling or picked on feeling or not being appreciated feeling or being misunderstood feeling, and then feel how it feels as that begins to play out. So feel the difference in those. And we're going to make a very strong statement to you. The majority of your world, especially your Western world, is doing most of their talking, most of their book writing, most of their conversing, most of their religioning, most of their politicking, most of their everything from there. That's what is making up most of the dialogue, most of the conversations, most of the things that most of the people are talking about in most of the movies and most of the television and most of the media and most of the dinner time conversations. Most of what you're talking about as mass consciousness is coming from that vibrational place. And so when you get into this receptive mode, then this stuff that feels yucky when you focus on it becomes irrelevant, because you no longer have vibrational access to that stuff. But when you get there, sometimes you feel like you are out there all alone, because so much of the world is wanting to go here. If you're going to watch any television, you sort of got to kind of go there. And so you do have some things to consider about who you are. We are encouraging, get into the receptive mode, and then there are so many wonderful things in nature and in other humans. In other words, we do not mean to make it sound bleak, like there's no one to play with you in the receptive mode, because everyone who is non-physically focused, everyone who knows who you are and what you want, all of that is available to you. And there are plenty of other physical beings who are there too, you see. So spend no more time trying to figure out how that happened or why this doesn't agree with this or why this person is saying this. Spend no time, because your inner being is spending no time there. And when you do, you're separating yourself not only from who you are, but from your true potential.